Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back to our pre-4th of July show right here at the bar where we always are with Brad Nickham from Nest Mortgage Group and my podcast partner and buddy,
Brian Quinlan from Daniels Real Estate. Thanks for being here, Brad. Cheers, my friend. You don't have a white tequila today.
No, today I have an anejo.
Excellent. Once again, new beer for me today. Sierra Nevada's Summerfest.
And we just discussed that it's not from Sierra Nevada at all.
Oddly enough, refreshing summer lager from Sierra Nevada Brewing Company out of Chico, California, which makes sense, and Mills River, North Carolina, which is nowhere near the Sierra Nevada mountains.
When I think of Chico, California, I just picture like Ice-T and his whole rapper gang.
Maybe they enjoy Sierra Nevada.
Yeah. I think, isn't there like a major prison in Chico, California?
I truly do not know.
I do believe there is. Yeah.
Chino, California?
Chico. I think that's what you said.
Well,
it could be Chino. I don't know.
I truly don't know either.
I'm not really up on my California prisons.
The top of this can I find funny. Family owned, operated, and argued over.
Yeah, because if you have a family business, you're going to argue about stuff.
I bet they have some arguments going on over there.
Well, we are not going to have any arguments today, even though we are filming this on the day that our two amazing, wonderful presidential candidates are speaking today.
Let's just call them presidential candidates.
Oh, no.
Amazing and wonderful?
They're amazing and wonderful. Both of them are.
Okay, it's the best we have to choose from.
Best we have to choose from.
Hundreds of millions of people. These two clowns?
These two clowns.
Yep. Gentlemen.
Clowns is better. One's going to yell at people and the other one's going to poop himself during it.
There it is. It might be both. Doing both, to be honest. So the
might scare the poop out of the other one.
Pre-4th of July. It's interesting because we have our episodes come out on Sundays,
right?
As loyal viewers know.
Fred
and Bill
Travis.
And Jenna and said Travis.
Okay.
Chuck. Okay. Stephanie. She's tapered off lately, I think.
My wife does not watch this.
No, she does not. No. Either way, we release episodes on Sunday, so Sunday to Sunday, the 4th of July is somewhere in between there on a Thursday.
Right.
Which is not going to be a recording day. So pre-4th of July for this
I didn't
one.
Think about that.
Right. Do you have 4th of July festivities planned?
So the 4th of July is my favorite holiday.
Okay.
Unlike you, you're not a big 4th of July fan. Doesn't like America. So 4th of July, I think it's a great time that people get together, they hang out, they shoot off fireworks, they have a few drinks, they don't flip each other off.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So it's one of my more, I love summertime, so 4th of July is feels like, man, we're summertime. Yeah. This year, we don't have an actual play. My friends Andy and Tammy, they teased me with, we're going to have a party. We want you to play guitar and sing at it. And I was like, how about I just DJ?
Okay.
But we've backed that down. And now I think we're just having a 4th of July get together here at the house, crank up some tunes, hang out in the pool that yesterday was 89 degrees.
Ooh, that's delightful.
And I know that I would invite you, but you have this awesome party where you make fun of all the people that shoots off fireworks.
Correct. So in my neighborhood, Whispering Falls, south side of Indianapolis, shout out.
Whispering Falls.
Correct. There ain't no whispering on the 4th of July, I'll tell you that. We have quite the blowout, and it's an organized blowout.
Chaos. Because
we have a large pond or lake, depending on your description, but we have a large body of water in the middle of the neighborhood, and it's somewhere between 75 to 100 feet deep, depending on who you ask.
That's a lake.
One would think, but again, by definition, it could be a pond. Doesn't matter. People have pontoon boats and kayaks and paddle boards, and there's a lot of floating that goes on with my group.
A lot of floating.
There's a lot of drinking that goes on with my group.
Hopefully there's no sinking.
My friend Mark and Debbie have this gigantic water slide that they roll out off their yard, down the hill, across the sidewalk, across the riprap, into the pond.
That's fantastic.
We cover the riprap with those large lily pad float things.
Sure.
We put sand over the sidewalk so no one's hurting themselves. This year, we're kicking it up a notch. Someone has purchased a second one, so we're going to have racers going on.
Nice.
We're hiring 6-degree snowballs, which we've talked about before. They're coming in.
Right there.
There it is.
Right there's one.
No, that's not 6
that's
degrees.
the Koa ice.
Yep, that's Kakua. That's all right.
Kakua.
6-degree snowballs are coming in for a couple hours to give out snow cones to everybody. One of my neighbors has a cotton candy machine. He gives out cotton candy to people. Wow. It's a whole day of just awesome fun. And then there's probably no less than 4 neighbors in the hood that just spend an exorbitant amount of money on fireworks. And we just have a huge fireworks show after dark.
Here's what I just heard is somebody's going to get a little road rash from going down the slide.
Yes, I actually did injure my knee one year.
Someone's going to lose a finger, and there's a potential for a little bit of diabetes.
Oh, there's probably a lot of diabetes.
And nobody's allowed to drive out of the neighborhood.
Correct.
Because just like Justin Timberlake, making BAC sexy again.
Yes, we don't want that. So we are careful like that. And you know me during the fireworks show, because
he's scrolling.
While
on his phone.
I love the 4th of July, I don't care for fireworks. So I'm basically staring at my phone.
It's
look
because
up every
you're
now
too
and then.
frugal. You're too frugal.
I am too frugal for 4th of July.
But you got to enjoy somebody else's passion.
It's
of burning
fine.
their
They
money.
can, but it just there's nothing new to the fireworks. Yeah, no, not new.
Yep.
So, anyways, I look forward to it so much that I've had people ask me, "Hey, you want to come over 4th of July? Here we're doing." I'm like, no, I'm not leaving my neighborhood.
But
in fact, my sister is coming from Illinois for the 2nd year in a row.
Illinois.
To celebrate with us, with her kids, and it's going to be awesome.
I got to tell you that the slide thing reminds me, we haven't had it in a couple of years. We put it on pause. We had a party. It was always the first weekend of August, and we called it Pond-a-palooza.
Yeah, you've told me about that.
It was at Kurt Huff's house, one of my best friends, Fred's neighbor.
Hi, Kurt. Hi, Fred.
And, we put on this party for multiple years. Live music. We got a big pond. We have a zip line. We have this huge diving board.
Sounds awesome.
We put out what's called a blob.
Yes.
So we have a blob. And before the blob and the zip line, we built a thing that we used to call a slip and bleed.
Slip and bleed?
Yeah, because the first person that did it got hurt.
Ooh.
So we built about 100-foot long slip and slide.
Oh, boy.
And you put a tube on it, and the tube hooked to a rope.
Oh, bad.
That went all the way across the pond, went through a pulley, and hooked onto the back of a Polaris, like UTV.
Oh, no.
And so the UTV would be like parked here, and then there was the pulley, and then all the way across the pond, which is a huge pond, and then 100 foot down the slip and bleed. And then there was a ramp at the end of it.
Oh, no.
So the very first one, the guy got on the tube, and we're like, go. And they took this Polaris or Ranger or whatever it was, full blast, like, he was going like 30, 40 miles an hour, and the dude's shooting down the thing, and when he hit the ramp, we were motocross guys. We knew how to build launch ramps, right?
Yeah.
But not for tubes.
Oh, no.
So instead of it launching him, it kind of smacked him in the face and knocked his teeth out.
Oh, no.
But he thought it was so cool.
So
we softened the ramp a little bit, and then so for the whole day, the people that had big enough guts to jump on the slip and bleed, we would yank them across the pond. It was so cool. But
did you get on it?
Oh, heavens no. I built it.
I know better.
So we did that for a few years, and then we backed the slip and bleed off. We went to this one year we had a drywall crane. So
okay.
Have you ever seen the trucks
yes.
that lift the drywall up? And
yes.
So we had a drywall crane, and we'd bring it down, and then you would grab the rope, and then we would flip it up in the air and swing it, and it would launch your body, and you'd let go and then fly into the pond.
That sounds awful.
It was pretty awesome.
Did you get on that?
Oh, heavens no. I was in control of the music. And then
I'm sensing a pattern here. Did you get on the blob?
I've never done the blob. No.
Heavens no.
I feel like I was too big to be launched and too big to jump on it. But Tyson Haynes was the person that suggested the blob. And then one year he came. He was one of our professional musicians from Nashville we brought up. And him and Hadley, which is another great singer, great friend of ours, they ordered a Speedo with Kurt Huff's face on it.
That's fantastic.
And then Macho Man Randy Savage always comes.
Uh-huh.
Now, I don't know if it's the real one or not.
He's kind of dead.
So it must not be the real one. But he always has like a Slim Jim with him. And
yeah, sure, absolutely.
And, so he would chase Tyson, and then Tyson would climb up to get away from him, and then Tyson would throw off whatever coat he had on, and then he had a Speedo with Kurt Hough's face on his junk, and then he would jump down on the blob and launch somebody into the air. It's always a fun program.
Wow.
So hopefully we bring Pond-a-palooza back. It got too big. There was 400 plus people there, and there were people in the motorhomes that we didn't know who they were, and so we kind of cut it off. It was a great party, great fun.
Switching gears, you just brought up Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, I don't know much about.
No, that's okay.
WWE.
You don't have to. Big sports news here in Indianapolis this week regarding the WWE.
I did see that.
So, in case you don't know, we're about to become the center of the WWE universe.
Ooh, yeah.
There it is. Well played. So, I don't watch wrestling. I did when I was a kid.
What's the Randy Flair guy? What's he
Ric
say?
Flair.
Yeah, what's Ric Flair say? Woo! Brent Browning, if you're watching the show, that's for you.
So, WWE has entered into a contract with the city,
like Lucas Oil
essentially
Stadium, right?
Indiana Sports Corporation, to host Royal Rumble, which is their second biggest event of the year, from what I understand.
Amazing.
SummerSlam, and WrestleMania over the next 2 years.
Which sounds so much better than soccer and girls' basketball.
Okay. So WrestleMania, a 2-day event.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Prior to those 2 days will probably be a week long of activities around the city.
Them guys will be chasing each other up and down Georgia Street.
There you go. And when WrestleMania is here, that is tens of thousands of people in Lucas Oil. I mean, they'll probably have 60, 70, 80,000.
It's like the same amount of people that watch our show.
Right, exactly. So it's a very big deal, and I think that's really cool. Even though I'm not into wrestling, I appreciate the fact that the city got that huge contract.
That's pretty phenomenal.
We're
the sports capital of the Midwest.
Right, and that leads me to another connected story. A dude that I follow, big YouTuber, Ken Pozek.
Hey, Ken.
Ken doesn't watch the show, but I'll say hi, Ken, anyways. He is a very large presence in real estate and YouTube in Orlando, Florida. And he posted on his Instagram story that he was standing next to somebody who is, I would say, the equivalent of the Indiana Sports Corporation in Orlando. He had interviewed him for his show, and he said that they were celebrating or had talked about the fact that Orlando was just named the #1 city in America for sports entertainment. I was like,
I disagree with them. They don't have Allison Melton and I can't remember his name. Mark Miles, who's in charge of the Indy 500. Yeah. Mark was the president of the Indianapolis Host Committee.
There you go. I messaged back to Ken, and I said, the city of Indianapolis would like you to hold their beer.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he messaged me back with a link to an article that had said Orlando was the top sports city, and it beat out 4 other candidates, and it did have Indianapolis in the top 5. I don't know where in the top 5.
Remember the Orlando Super Bowl? No, neither do I. Do you remember when the Final Four was? Nope, neither do I.
I brought that up. I said, it's interesting. We may have hosted the Super Bowl in 2012, which was, I understand, 12 years ago, but I can't remember the last time Orlando hosted that.
And the last time the Orlando Magic made it to anything, and I don't even like basketball. And what's their football team? Who's the Orlando's professional football team?
That is correct. They don't have one.
What about their hockey team?
Nope. They have some hockey teams nearby.
What about their baseball team?
We don't have a hockey team, though, either.
We have
the Fuel.
We have a farm league team.
Orlando may also. Just no one talks about those.
No one watches that anyway.
They don't have a professional baseball.
Who's getting ready to build, the biggest mistake that the city could ever build? The big old soccer league stadium.
They may have a soccer team, actually. Though I did.
Because we don't know.
I did message back to Ken a picture of the swim meet that was just inside Lucas Oil Stadium. And he says, well, we did just host the Olympic trials for the marathon. I said, oh, wow, did 72 people show up to watch the marathon?
You know what I love to watch, though? It's the Orlando 500. Oh, no, they don't have that either. No. Or the Orlando 4. Nope, they're the 400 either. No.
Okay.
I don't think Orlando has anything but Disney.
For real. I was stunned by that. And
yeah, that's bullshit. Somebody bought that.
I'll meet Ken in Orlando in October. So
yeah.
No, in Vegas.
I mean, they have a great governor, and maybe he bought that award. But that's all I got for
Perhaps.
that. Sorry.
I'm assuming there are things we don't know about Orlando.
I know there's a lot of things I don't know.
About Orlando, especially.
Yeah, especially.
There it is.
You didn't ask me about my beverage. You explained your beverage. You
holy
didn't ask
crap!
me anything about
I
my
am
beverage.
so sorry.
And you didn't even,
what? There's no need because it's tequila.
You didn't even toast
except
me.
it's gold. We did at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
But that is a gold tequila.
This is an anejo.
Okay.
We're going to talk about that later.
I look forward to it.
But El Tequiliano. El Tequiliano.
Tequileño.
Well, I don't know how to pronounce shit.
We
great,
know.
So, but this is a very old tequila distillery in Mexico, actually in the town of Tequila. When my wife and I go in August, we're actually staying at the Hotel Casa Salas, which is on their grounds.
By the way, if you at home are playing the game Drink a Shot when Brad mentions going to Mexico later, you're going to have to do one right now.
Drunk. So, yeah, it's a very, very fine tequila. And this is their one of their añejos, which is an amazing tequila.
Well, let's get into it because right here we have what appears to be a tequila bottle because it's clear liquid.
Let's go ahead and do our shot with this. This was your shot pick.
That's a good
We'll do
idea.
it now.
So I asked Brad earlier. This says Maker's White, and it was up here on the non-tequila side of the bar,
The bourbon side.
next to Maker's Mark, and it says Maker's White. So I was like, well, that's interesting. That is like a white bourbon.
It is. It's bourbon
Okay.
before it's aged.
Okay.
So a lot of people get confused about the names of tequila: añejo, reposado, blanco, extra añejo.
Thought this was a cork. I was going to pull it out.
No,
It's a screw top.
it's a screw top. So an añejo and a reposado and a blanco, it's the same tequila, right? It is a blanco is a white tequila, or what in the bourbon world they call a white dog. White dog is just literally the distillate. That's what they made. Right?
Yeah.
That's what comes out of this
Okay.
still.
So
And
tequila
Blanco
comes out clear or white.
Right. It comes out clear just like
Bourbon comes out clear white.
correct.
Okay.
So then the thing that makes it turn its color is putting it in a charred barrel and aging it.
Huh.
So this añejo is just a blanco that's been in a barrel for at least a year.
Okay.
A bourbon, and like scotch, which is also a white liquor that goes into a barrel, those can be aged anywhere from 5 years to 15 years to 30 years. And the longer the aging, of course, the more expensive the bourbon
Of course.
or the scotch. Same with tequila. Huh. So if you're going to age this tequila, which is an añejo, you see it's very dark. That one over there is a Tapatito. It's a Highlands tequila. That's a Reposado. And that's been aged for less than 6 months. And you see how clear that is. So your bourbons, nobody drinks a white dog. You're going to see why in a minute.
I look forward to
And
that.
it's mainly because tequila is the flavor of an agave, right? So
Right.
it's we've talked about it's an agricultural product versus a corn liquor, industrial type product. And this is going to taste like any corn mash moonshine, which is
gonna burn,
kind of
is what you're
harsh.
telling me.
And not that tequila can't
Yeah.
be harsh, but it has a flavor that is different from any other liquor because it's made like wine. It's made with a fruit, if you will. It's not a fruit, but you see what I'm saying. Where this
I do.
is just a grain.
Okay.
So it'd be like if vodka set in a barrel, the vodka flavor would change because it would take on the flavor of that barrel. And the same with the rum. So if you take a white rum
Yep.
and you set that white rum in a barrel and you call it an añejo, it takes on the flavors and the colors of the rum. So an añejo rum has just been aged in a barrel, usually a bourbon barrel, a French oak barrel, or a wine barrel. Bourbon barrels, I believe, are almost always American oak barrels, new and charred, where tequila can be French oak. They can be wine barrels. They can be, am I boring you?
No.
I made you yawn. So
It's
the
natural.
flavor profiles can change based on what the barrel is. So,
This is fascinating. I'm not bullshitting. This is fascinating.
I mean, liquor is pretty amazing, right? First of all, it takes all of our
Amazing's a big
troubles away.
word. It's interesting.
It is very interesting. And the more I learn about tequila, which I am, for some reason, this weird student of the spirit, but it does teach you a lot of things about other spirits that are out there as well.
Do you have any upcoming trips where you're going to learn more about tequila?
Yeah, so my wife and I in August are traveling to Guadalajara. We are taking a shuttle to the town of
Do
Tequila.
a shot.
And then we will be visiting Fortaleza, Arete, this one, Cascahuil.
I don't know if there's a shot game, but there should be.
There should be, yeah.
I love it. All right,
So
well,
let's do some white dog.
Let's do some white dog.
If you want to see some ugly drinking faces.
Maybe I'm not going to shoot this. Maybe we're going to just...
Oh, you don't want to sip it?
No? Okay, we're going to shoot this thing. Wow.
Taste some corn.
We need a lighter here. I'm going to set something on fire.
It's still your same 90 proof. But so when bourbon goes into the barrel, it's the aging of the product that takes away some of the harshness of it.
Okay.
Which has the same effect in rum,
Yep.
and in tequila, because now you're adding these notes of vanilla and caramel and maybe some oak flavor, and it definitely tames, maybe the hotness of the alcohol,
Okay.
because the proof is 90,
Yeah.
just like the proof of that Maker's is 90, but the difference in the barrel is what changes that flavor profile.
Definitely a different flavor, and it's not good.
Well, and I have to say, this is to me a difference between the two spirits of bourbon versus tequila. Is I think you can take a bad tasting bourbon and put it in a barrel long enough that it tastes good.
Okay.
But because tequila isn't aged as long, 6 months for a reposado and a year for añejo, you don't have the change in the flavor profile.
Yeah.
So your Blanco has to be really good to have a good reposado and a good añejo and a good extra añejo, so that it's not going to erase a bad tequila, where bourbon to me doesn't taste good as a Blanco. That's I think that's why you can't buy it at the store.
Yeah. I would not buy that.
Like,
I'll
can
just
I
say,
get the Jim Beam Blanco?
Stephanie, do not. If you see it, do not buy that.
I picked this up at Makersmart when we were there, and it was great because they taught us why these barrels tasted different and the different mashes, and then so I brought it home.
Made you buy some.
Oh yeah, because it's a great thing to show somebody.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was intrigued, and here we are. And
Drunk-
now I know. We're done.
Drunks love to teach non-drunks how to be drunks.
Thanks. I
You're
appreciate
welcome. We've got some great content today because the real estate market is getting ready to make some changes, and we're going to talk about some of them. And really, for me, this is what happened to the mortgage world in 2008.
Oh, yeah, I
where
bet.
The compensation for
That was the
loan
year I was teacher of
officers
the
and-
year
Were you really?
Yeah. in
That's
my
amazing.
school.
Did you get a parking spot for that?
No,
Did you get a plaque?
I got a plaque, maybe an apple, I think, like a crystal apple.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I never got teacher of the year.
You weren't a teacher. So.
Or student of the year.
I didn't get that either.
So we're going to have some major changes in our industry for real estate professionals, which is going to have an effect on the mortgage side as well. But what you guys are all facing in the potential changes in income and how you have to present what you do, we had that happen to us in 2008. When
Okay.
They flipped this industry upside down. And just so you know, you'll be okay.
I'm not worried.
And the market will be okay too. This isn't really going to change everything
Also
drastically.
not worried about that.
Yeah. So to fire this up, Brian, what are the changes that are happening? What are our people that are thinking about buying a house going to see differently?
Thank you. So let me preface this by saying in Indiana, this all goes to in effect July 1st. And
It's not nationwide?
I'll get there.
Okay.
So this episode should be uploaded on June 30th. So this essentially will be tomorrow. And
Oh, the night before.
right, this is the Christmas Eve, the Eve. That's what I was looking for. So not necessarily in every state, though very likely in most states. And I say that because the original National Association of Realtors
NAR.
settlement proposal with the DOJ was supposed to be in effect July 1st, but it actually hasn't even been approved yet by the courts. Currently, that's been kicked down the street into, I believe, August 11th, August 7th, something like that. But we'll just say August. But because we had been gearing up for July 1st, am I boring you?
No, this is a very boring subject.
We've all been gearing up for July 1st in our industry. The Indiana Association of Realtors, EIR? Sure, we'll call it that. They decided we're just going to throw this into effect July 1st. So here we go. One of the big things is going to be, I'm going to cover how it's different for buyers. So I started real estate in 2020, and during my schooling, much of it useless.
Most of it useless.
One of the things that they talked about was a buyer's exclusive agency agreement. That agreement, essentially, as I would tell my clients, was it officially makes me my buyer's realtor so that they're not going to go and work with someone else.
It protects you from the time you spend with that customer.
Absolutely. And it protects them as well. And that's the way that I would sell it, is it protects both of us. It protects me from you going out and finding another realtor behind my back. And it protects you because there's certain talk about ethics and things that the duties that I will perform as a realtor.
I don't like that you said duty when I look back there.
And it protects both the client and protects the realtor. But it was not required here in Indiana. I don't think most states required it or even had one to begin with, to be honest. And so now this agreement is going to be required before a realtor can show a client a house. I have, up until now, like the entire month of June, there's a particular client that I've been working with. I've shown them 3 houses, and I have not signed an agreement with them.
Brian.
Knowing that that's not particularly intelligent, but that's fine. The majority of time, I have had a buyer sign that. It is what it is. But now, in order for me to show them any more houses, in order for a client to come to me and go, or a potential client to come to me and say, hey, I'd like to see this house, they are going to be required to sign this agreement, whether I'm going to show them one house or whether I'm going to work with them for the next couple of months and show them multiple houses. So this agreement can be short-term or it can be long-term. It's just between the conversation that a buyer is going to have with a realtor for how long this agreement is going to be in place.
Can it be for just one house, one showing?
Absolutely. You can actually put down it's just for one address. You can put down it's between now and the end of the weekend in case they want to see some other houses and don't want to have to contact another realtor. Or it can be between now, which is, we're going to say July, and December 31st.
And can it vary how you get paid based on how that is written?
That's where we're going next. So prior to this, the discussion of compensation has always is the wrong word. The discussion of compensation should have been discussed between the buyer and their potential agent in that, okay, if the seller isn't going to pay the buyer's agency commission, then here is what the buyer is going to be responsible to pay to their agent. The majority of cases prior to July 1st have been paid by the seller once the transaction is over. Then they cut a check to their agent, and the agent gives up a certain percentage of that to the buyer's agent. Well, that's always been kind of formatted as in the seller is the one paying the buyer's agent. While that's actually not been true because the buyer is the one who's giving up the money for the house.
Yeah, but the funds are coming from the seller.
Correct. So I mean, it's out of the seller's pocket.
It's not like we've talked about on this show before, it's not like they would have bought the house for less money because the commissions were built into the price of the home.
There you go. Previously, the buyer has really had no say in what the commission they were giving up to their own agent has been because it's always been, well, the seller is going to give up 3% to the agent who brings in the buyer, or 2.5%, or 2%, or whatever is negotiated with that listing agent for the home. And that's honestly where the DOJ has kind of had the biggest problem, is that the buyer has never really had a say in what their agent is being paid.
Yeah, if we're talking about the lawsuit itself,
which we have before.
They really went to a place to really make it out that something bad was happening and that buyers weren't able to see this. But this information has been it's been available since Al Gore invented the internet.
There you go.
Because it's always been listed on the listing sheet of what the BAC is, and not like Justin Timberlake doesn't know that's not blood alcohol content.
There you go. So another interesting side note that I learned on a Zoom today with
not a podcast,
a legal expert who was talking to Indiana realtors about how changes are coming is, let's say that you have a buyer's exclusive agency agreement with your buyer's agent, and you have agreed to pay that agent 2% of whatever the transaction is going to be as the buyer. Okay, cool. The seller has the option to say what percentage they're willing to pay to the buyer's agent on their side. Let's say that the seller has already agreed to give up 3% to the buyer's agent.
So are you going to give 1% as a credit to the buyer buying the
There
house?
you go.
Because you can.
Okay, so flip that around. If the buyer has agreed to pay 2.5% to their realtor, the seller says they're only giving up 2%. Well, now the buyer is on the hook for the other 0.5%.
What happens
contractually?
What happens if the buyer? What happens if the realtor's not willing to budge, and the buyer doesn't have that money?
Well, I mean, technically they've signed an agreement that says that they're going to pay that. So there could be a lawsuit involved, I suppose.
Yeah, it's going to get a judgment and a piece of paper to hang on your wall.
True.
So how do we make the deal happen?
Well, I would say, knowing most of the agents that I deal with, they're probably going to agree to whatever the seller is willing to pay on the buyer's behalf. And then there's an amendment involved.
What if the lender looks at it and goes, hey, I can help out with that. We're going to raise the interest rate on the deal.
Okay.
Because then I can have a larger amount of yield spread, and I can do a credit to the borrower for the difference of that amount.
Again, becomes an amendment.
I just brought something in you never even thought about.
No, not whatsoever.
Yeah, so
there's
a lot of ways that we can help as lenders
to
make it work.
In my world, and yours as well, but definitely in my world, this is all new territory.
Oh, big time.
So there's going to be a lot of adjustments. There's going to be a lot of, figuring out how this is all going to work.
I don't honestly, I don't think it's going to be a huge effect, really.
On our side, it probably is.
I think realtors are going to sit down with their sellers and go, look, if we don't do a 2.5% or 3% buyer side commission, nobody's going to show your home.
Thank you. That was the next point. So I've talked about the buyers and how their world is kind of changing. Though if you've never bought a house before, you have no idea if it was any different.
Did I just give you a segue?
You totally segued
I did
it
not.
That
That
was
was
planning
not.
it.
We did.
The seller states on there what percentage of the sale they're willing to give up to their listing agent to sell their house.
Right on the listing agreement.
Correct.
And that's going to say, I'm paying this much in commission to the listing agent and potentially this much to a buyer's agent.
The way it has been done prior to July 1st,
listing agent's going to pay the buyer's
it
agent.
says, just for rounding numbers, I might say, okay, well, I'm willing to sell your house for 6% of the purchase price. The next line on that listing agreement says the buyer's agent is going to get this percent.
2.5.
Normally, it's broken up 50-50 in my world. So if it's a 6%, then I get 3% and the buyer's agent gets 3%. Simple math, okay?
Sure.
Now, the difference is going to be, one line is going to say the listing agent who is going to sell the house is going to get this percent, most likely down in the anywhere from 1 to 3%, I would assume, in most cases. Then the next line is going to be an option. Option 1 is going to be the seller is willing to give up, and you fill in the percentage to the buyer's agent who comes in brings in a buyer to buy the house. Or the next line will say the seller is willing to essentially negotiate what the percentage would be to the buyer's agent. Line number 3 is going to say the seller is not willing to give a buyer's agency commission at all. Boom.
AGS.
Suck it, you're on your own.
AGS.
AGS.
Man, getting shit.
There it is. Okay. So those will be the 3 options stated in the listing agreement. Now, prior to...
Can I put my nose in real quick?
That looks like your hand, but sure.
Do you think it's going to change, though? Do you think listing agents are going to now let somebody know that it's a good idea to list it without paying the buyer's commission?
Good question. It's going to become a new discussion.
Conversation, yeah.
Definitely. And I would say the majority of listing agents are going to say it's in the seller's best interest to pay for the buyer's agency commission.
Right.
Because it makes it easier for the buyer to be able to purchase the house if they're not the ones having to cover the cost of that.
And every single person that owns a house today that's gonna sell their house had the advantage buying their house because the seller paid that commission.
Absolutely.
So if you want to erase your pool of buyers, don't pay the commission.
Exactly. Now, one big difference in our world, I guess, is when we advertise on the BLC, in the local real estate commission, online, the listing describes everything on the house: square footage, all the room sizes, a description of the house, yada, yada, yada. It's always been put on there a line that says BAC %. Most buyers probably ignore that because they have no idea what that means. BAC is buyer's agency commission. It normally says 3% or 2.5% or 2.75% or 1% or whatever it would be.
You don't think they knew what that meant?
I would bet most people had no idea what that was unless their agent told them what it was. Okay. So now, as of July 1st, we can no longer put that in the description of the house. I cannot put it into the description in text. There is a section that's called agent to agent remarks that the general public does not see. I can't put it in there as a message to the agent. Hey, my client will pay you 3%. I can't describe it as the seller is willing to pay up to a certain percentage concessions towards
so
whatever.
what you're telling me is before it was all disclosed, and now it's going to be a mystery.
Absolutely, which
government doing a great job again.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so now, when I'm a buyer's agent, I now need to contact the seller agent, the listing agent, and
do you have to send them a fax?
It can be a phone call. Nope. It can be a text message, or it can be an email. Hey, is your seller going to be paying a BAC?
Can they post it on their own personal website?
Yes, that was going to be my next point. So as long as I have my own personal webpage, or danielsrealestate.com, it does exist, I can, as long as it's one of the listings for my brokerage, I can put what the percentage of BAC will be on there. I can't advertise that anywhere else, but I can do it as long as it's our own IDX.
Why then stay involved in the MLS? And
that's
not
a
just
great question that will
$1,100 or $1,500 a year expense.
It actually speaks to where I think personally
misleading information.
The future of real estate is going. I believe that the local real estate agencies will disappear, and Zillow and homes.com will be the place to go where it doesn't have that nonsense regulation.
Oh, don't tell me that.
It will.
Gosh, Zillow.
It is what it is.
Zillow.
I don't love Zillow for their estimates, but Zillow has good information, and Zillow is the place that people go.
So Zillow gives. So I'm gonna go against a little bit of what he just said.
Okay.
The tax information on Zillow normally wrong. The payment.
Well, I did say I don't like their estimates.
The payment estimates that they put on there for a house that is for sale, way off. Like not even close to what the house payment will be, and it's either way. Sometimes
I'm gonna throw in because
low.
They're not your local agent.
Right. They don't have local information.
Correct.
And they're using. I'm going to say a little bit slower AI than what's been invented. They're using
fair.
1997 AI to drive this information.
1900s?
It's the 1900s, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
That's when shit was cool. That's when bands were good. So I have customers all the time that are going, oh, we're so excited. We want to buy a house. We've been looking on Zillow at these homes that are $250, and it says our payment will be $1,200. And you're like,
yeah. See, I don't deal with that. I bet you get that a lot.
I do it all day long.
Yeah.
You're like, well, they don't have the taxes right, the insurance right. You know, they don't include PMI. If someone's doing 5% down, they use estimates like somebody's putting down 50% on every. I don't know where their payments come from, honestly, but
most people don't put down 50%.
No. I mean, it's probably 20. I'm going to say my average customer puts on 20.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. I was going to say that's best case. I would have thought most people don't put 20.
Actually, it's like a national average. I think the down payment on a home somewhere around 30-some%.
Really?
National average, yeah.
Well, what?
So it's another reason why 2024 is not like 2007, where the average down payment in 2007 was like less than 3%.
Fascinating.
Yeah, our housing market's phenomenal. Case-Schiller just came out on Monday, said that the average home price in the month of April, because it's data, past data, right? You never get current data.
Of course.
Went up another 0.3% with an average increase year over year of 6.3%. The median home price has reached the highest in May ever in history.
Nice.
May also had the lowest sales of new build homes since 2022.
Huh.
And May was the lowest amount of homes sold in the United States since like 2000. I think it was 9.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it's not because there's not buyers.
Nope.
It's because there's no inventory.
Definitely. And, my experience right now is just the pause, the hesitation, the reluctance of my buyers to go at something.
Yep.
Pull the trigger. That's good terminology. I've had a couple of clients we've gone and looked at, and I always keep a list of homes we look at. We've gone and looked at probably 12, 15 houses that, in my opinion, fit what they're looking for, but they won't pull the trigger. And I don't know, we haven't discussed why, but I will say one nice thing in that scenario is we've been able to go back and look at a house for a second time.
Right.
Which just happened this week. We went to, there was a day we went and looked at 3 houses. 2 of them were new,
right,
that they hadn't seen before. The other one was a second visit. And what it allowed us to do was to eliminate that house that they were thinking strongly of.
So for everybody that's been in real estate from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Wait, time out. You mean 20, 21, 20? You said 19, 20.
19, 20.
Okay, 2019.
21.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So all of this group of people thinks that a home goes on the market and then it sells right away.
Yep.
So average days on market, 2018.
I would guess in the 80 to 90 range.
88 days.
And I only say that because I literally just saw the graph today.
It's 88 days. I mean,
yeah.
If you go 2018 and before, you had the opportunity to look at homes. You brought your parents to look at the house. You sat around at home and you went over payments. You went back and looked at it a third time, and then you wrote an offer on a home. That is normal.
That was normal.
No, it is normal.
It's
going to be back to normal.
Okay, I like it.
Because we're going to get to a place, whether it be because interest rates are going, I mean, there's a couple things in the market. Inflation hasn't slowed down as much as they wanted to. Unemployment's going up. Interest rates have continued to stay high. The amount of savings that people had during COVID from their stimmy money to where they are now, that money is now gone.
No.
And now the level of credit card debt is at its highest it's been in several years.
No.
The economy is shifting gears. It's also now taking longer for a person who lost their job to find a new job.
Yeah.
So all these economy slowing things are going to slow down this market, and you're going to put your house on the market. You're going to talk to your realtor. They're going to say we should list it for $350, and you said, my Uncle Bob, he works down at the factory. He said I should sell it for $380. Right.
Or my neighbor down the street sold their house for $375.
Right.
And mine is definitely nicer than theirs.
Yeah, theirs is a 5-bedroom with a pool.
Oh.
So you're going to overlist it, and it's going to park itself on the market for a little while. And we are seeing this happen in states like Florida, North Carolina. A good realtor friend of mine in North Carolina is like in this panic mode that, the market has hit this crash because houses are staying on the home for 30 days and they're reducing their price. I'm like, I don't know, maybe you should check out 2018. But when it comes down to looking at, historical real estate, right? It's the same thing with this rates. I posted a thing on Facebook yesterday that showed that rates in 19, whatever it was, were 14 something, right? Mm-hmm. And, people that when rates went above 7.5 in 1971, they said things like, well, I'm going to wait till rates come back down. They hit 7.5 again in 1972 or 1997. It's just 20 years. Do we think rates are going to come down? Yeah, we think so. Why do we think so? Because we think the economy is going to go in the toilet. And then I've had people say, well, I'm going to wait for the election.
Oh, terrible.
The election. Like all of a sudden, Biden gets reelected and we go, okay, well, rates should be 4. Or Trump gets reelected and we say rates should be 4. It doesn't really matter. None of those things are going to happen.
Nope. Here on the screen is a graph that shows days on market going back to, I think it's 2015. Yeah. And you can see at the beginning of the graph, way back in 2015, it's way up here in the 80 to 90 to 100 days.
Always in the winter.
Definitely.
It always gets a little better. There's some spikes in the summer.
And this is based on quarter by quarter changes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2021 and essentially the last 4 years, we're down to single digits.
Right.
I actually checked this morning, and our current days on market for Indianapolis is 10 days, which some people will look at that and go, well, what's wrong with the house if it's been sitting there for a week? No, that's normal. Look back over the history of days on market. It's normally a lot higher.
Right. Yeah, it was not an odd thing in 15 and 16 for a house to be on the market for 6 months.
For sure, as the graph shows.
And also to have price decreases. And that some people, there's a lot of people I think, oh, housing prices are going backwards because they're decreasing the price.
Nope.
Well, no, it's because it was probably priced incorrectly in the beginning.
Yeah, we've hit that before.
Or there wasn't something desirable about it. Or you know what? Sometimes some things just have to go on sale. And when you go to the store and you buy something on sale, it doesn't mean from now on that thing is going to be that price or less.
No.
And I don't know why people get confused about that. You're like, oh, I bought these Viore pants on sale for $99, so now they're never going to be $125 again. No, you idiot. That's just last year's pants they're blowing out because the next ones are going to be $135.
Viore, really?
Oh, yeah, that's good stuff.
Do you? Okay. I don't own anything Viore.
But let's say something, milk. Right? Milk that's been on the shelf for 8 days is probably cheaper than milk that's been on the shelf for a day.
For sure. Doesn't mean milk is going to be that price.
It doesn't. It means it's about to be cottage cheese, which is disgusting.
So speaking of selling houses, I had an interesting conversation with one of my future sellers today. So
you mentioned this today, too.
Yeah. So she and I met within the last couple of weeks, and she has some repairs to do to her house.
Okay.
I have told her, because she doesn't really have the financial means to necessarily be able to make a lot of repairs to her house. I said, you know what we can do? We could just repair kind of maybe the important stuff and then sell your house as is.
Like call Christy and get the hole in the roof fixed.
There you go. Exactly. Call Aaron Christie, get the hole in the roof fixed. Coincidentally, she called Aaron Christie.
Nice.
Aaron came out and they did an evaluation of her roof because her home is older.
Okay.
And I said, there's a pretty good chance over the years you've lived here, it's got hail damage, right? Yeah. Because actually her roof was older than her living there. She's only lived there for 2 years.
Oh, yeah. That's got damage.
It's been there. So Aaron and Indy Roofing came out, of course, hail damage, gutter damage, siding damage.
It's going to look brand new.
Her deductible is, I don't know if it's $500 or $1,000, but that's all it's going to cost her to get a brand new roof, brand new gutters, and new siding on her house.
What else could she possibly fix?
Well, she has,
74 cats.
So she does have a cat. No. Okay. So she and I were messaging back and forth today, which just started out as a basic July 4th kind of conversation. And I said, what are you doing for the 4th? She says, well, I'm just hanging out with my cat. I said, well, I was hoping you were going to say you're going to be fixing up your house, getting it ready to sell.
Right.
She goes, no, it's going to cost me like $6,000 to fix up my house. And I was like, what is going on? What happened? So then we had a phone conversation.
Okay.
She told me that she wants to fix the flooring. She wants to replace the vent in the bathroom. The exhaust fan needs to be replaced. She has a dishwasher that is non-functional. She needs a new dishwasher. And then she mentioned painting, and she mentioned this and that. And I said, whoa, time out. I said, why don't we do this? Why don't you get a home inspection, which she did call Jeff at Home Team.
Nice.
Hi,
all
Jeff.
People that have been on this show.
I know, right?
It's one of the most helpful shows in real estate.
Undoubtedly. I just used the word shot. So she called Jeff, and Jeff's going to come out and do a home inspection. And I said, don't do anything else to your house.
Right.
Let's get the inspection. You and I will sit down and analyze what it says that needs to be fixed. And we'll address maybe the top 2 or 3. I was like, yes, we're going to replace the dishwasher. I think that's important. Most homeowners are going to want that.
$300
for real, 500 or less, I would think. You might replace the exhaust fan in the bathroom, probably a couple $100 to have someone come in and do that, right?
Because of Taco Tuesday or something?
There you go.
I mean, does it make a lot of noise or does it not work?
I don't even know that it functions, or it just makes a ton of noise. Either way, it's not good. Her water heater's got a lot of rust at the top, so we're talking about possibly. But again, that will depend. That will depend on what the inspection says. I said, but stop there. What about? Because what she had said originally was we were probably going to list her house in the fall, looking at like September, because she had a number of things she wanted to do. When she messaged me today, she says, I'm probably going to have to wait until next year to list my house. I said, wait a minute. What if we have the inspection? We talk about what to address right away. We do those things, and maybe by the end of July or into August, we're ready to list your house after we repair 2 or 3 things.
In buying season still.
During buying season, and we list your house as is. If it sells at a dollar amount that you're comfortable with, great, you're done. If not, if the buyers are telling us we want this fixed, whatever, and it doesn't sell, so what? You list it for a month. If it doesn't sell, we pull it off the market. You now have 4 or 5 months over the slow season to fix up those other things. And then we come back in March or February and we list your house. And now you fix those things and it's even better. What she was talking about fixing or repairing were things she wasn't going to get money back on the sale of her house right away.
Right.
And that's actually what her thought process was.
The cosmetic side.
That's right. She's
if I paint this all.
If I paint this, well, I can put $500 onto the cost of my house. If I repair the flooring, I can add a couple $1,000s onto the cost of my house. It doesn't work that way. But the repaired roof, siding, and gutters for your house, that's a huge improvement right away that does add money onto your house.
HVAC is another one.
HVAC is another one, but we'll find that out during the inspection if it even needs to be done. So to me, spending $500 on the inspection right now, maybe spending a couple $100, maybe a small $1,000 on a couple of small repairs here and there, we get your house sold and you're done.
I used to say, people would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna, remodel this." So you can put a $1 million gold toilet in a $100,000 house, and you don't have a $1.1 million house.
You do not. No,
you got a $100,000 house with $1 million toilet.
Correct.
And I use that as an extreme example all the time. But I have people go, "Oh, I paved my driveway." Well, that'll be nice. Yeah, that's nice. I put in a sprinkler system. Well, that's good.
Yep.
I have, a $10,000 deck. You got a big deck. But
does a $10,000 deck affect your house? Maybe a little bit.
More of the attractiveness to buy it.
Absolutely.
Right? Somebody's going to buy that and they're like, man, I love this entertaining area. I'm willing to pay this for this house. But when the appraiser comes, the appraiser doesn't come and walk through the house and go, wow, did you see that deck? That has never happened ever. Right?
No, certainly not.
So a lot of times it's talking to your agent to go, what are the things that bring value, that increase my price in the improvements that I want to do? And I always tell them when they ask me, add square footage. Like that's
one of the things that I said to her was, okay, I understand there are parts of your floor, because she has laminate, fake wood flooring,
linoleum.
Right? Yeah. She's got okay flooring.
Gotcha.
Okay. If she were to fix it, the likelihood would be an upgrade to whatever the flooring is going to be. If I'm the buyer, I would rather choose what my flooring is going to be.
So can we do a flooring allowance?
Not an allowance.
I'm so glad you said no. We were going to pause if you said yes.
Nope, not an allowance, but we can offer to pay money towards a flooring company on the closing that would take care of them getting new flooring of their choice.
100%. Same with painting.
For sure. Though I'll be honest, painting is inexpensive, especially since I paint houses. And when when I talk to my clients, I offer to paint the house if that's what it needs to be done.
If it's removing wallpaper and big changes, then,
I'm not doing that.
Then there can be an expense.
Yeah, for sure. But if there are certain things, flooring, and that includes laminate flooring or carpeting, countertops, things like that everyone has their own personal choice of what they like versus what you like.
Right.
Give them the opportunity to ask for you to maybe offer a credit towards that, maybe drop the price of the house or offer as a credit towards that company. Closing cost credit, exactly. And give them the choice of what they want in their new house.
I would love to know the percentage of people that paint their entire house, sell it, and then the buyers repaint the entire house. Yeah. It's got to be a number.
And that's honestly why the agreeable gray color exists. And just paint it white or
eggshell white.
Yeah. White, gray, back in the 80s or 90s, it was beige.
Yep, a lot of beige.
So
the ceiling and the walls are the same color.
Exactly. And that's why those are the suggested colors when someone tells you to paint your house before you sell it.
Oh my gosh, you've got a Berber. Remember Berber carpet was like the thing? Oh, they've got a Berber.
That's a little before my home buying time.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
totally know what you're saying.
Man, that bathroom's got a beautiful Berber carpet in it.
For real.
That was a thing. And everybody had those carpets that went around their toilets. Remember the shag rugs that went around the carpet? Because you didn't want to get the pee in the carpet?
No, gosh, no.
To get the pee on the mat above the carpet?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It totally is.
So glad things have changed.
Me too.
Now we just slip on our floors.
There it is. There it is. All right, Brad. Well, this has been an enlightening episode of Real Estate Changes and seller suggestions.
Should people be afraid of the change?
Certainly not. I think the difference is more with the realtors, not so much on, if you bought a house before, if you sold a house before, there's very little difference to what's going on with you.
Agreed.
And if you've never done either of those things, you have no idea how it's different.
Not even going to know it's different.
I would say the most important aspect of having a realtor is someone who communicates things well, and then someone who hooks you up with a lender who communicates things well, and everybody works together on the same page.
The key is understanding the process.
Absolutely.
And as teachers of this process, if you understand what you're going into, this is easy stuff. It really is. And it's still better than written.
It is. It is. Well, Brad, thanks once again for hosting. We'll see you next time on Real Estate Makes Us Drink. By the way, happy 4th of July to all of you out there celebrating. Hope you enjoy the fireworks that I don't like.
For all the people that made 4th of July be a thing for us.
Yep.
All the people that have been in the armed services, armed forces, however you want to say it, all of the veterans that really made what we do possible, to be able to sit up here and say stupid stuff all the time and be corny and have an internet where we can be free to talk about what we want to be able to sit at this bar and talk about the debate that's happening today and know that I don't like one guy and he doesn't like the other guy, but we live in a free country, that you guys did everything and put everything at risk for us to be able to do that. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Cheers to all of you.
Cheers.
Thanks for being here.